What's up, YouTube? So what do you think would happen if we as black people ended white supremacy before before we ended colorism? How do you think that would play out? And I know this is going to take a whole lot of imagining because as we know, black people are not going to be ending white supremacy anytime soon. I'd sooner believe aliens from another galaxy would end white supremacy before black people would. Alright. Sad to say, I hate to say that, but nah, I just don't see that happening with the black people we had on our team now, in our community now. Nah. But let me get into the subject of this video. And before I go on, I do want to give a disclaimer. This is a theory, alright? Take it with a grain of salt, alright? I have not scientifically proven this. This is just a theory for me personally about how, this would potentially play out, okay? So, of course, we often assume that colorism would just die off with white supremacy. That's usually the argument when people say, hey, let's concentrate on white supremacy, not colorism, right? And on the surface, that does seem like it would be the logical thing to do. It's kind of like, attack the head versus the arms, right? But it's a little different. It's a little different than that. And also, like, the arms are currently strangling us, so we do have to deal with the arms first, or else we're going to get strangled to death, right? So we kind of have to, deal with the arms and then, go after the head. But people tend to not see it like that. It's just, attack white supremacy, thus attack the head, right? Personally, this is kind of how I feel like it would play out, all right? So let's say that black people, by some stroke of luck, some, divine intervention, act of God, end white supremacy, okay? Before ending colorism, okay? I personally feel like colorism would fill the void left by the absence of the system of white supremacy. So essentially, we would be trading one, busted system, one crappy system for another crappy system, which honestly is just like a remix of white supremacy. Honestly, because if you're upholding colorism, then you're upholding white supremacy. It's just more roundabout. It's just not as direct, right? And also, colorism would become more. It would become worldwide, or really more worldwide. Honestly, I think colorism is worldwide, but the intensity of it would increase, right? And we would have more of it coming from. We would have like the black community's version of colorism implemented worldwide. All right. Also something to think about. Like people say, oh, end white supremacy, that'll solve the issues of colorism. But the thing is, it's like, are we going to say, like, all of a sudden, once we end white supremacy, that we're going to start valuing brown skin and dark skinned females more as a community? All of a sudden, once we end white supremacy, do you think that's going to happen? Realistically, because the thing is, if you weren't valuing them before you ended white supremacy, why would you value them after you end white supremacy and there's nobody there to prompt you to value them, right? Especially when you've devalued them so much and honestly you've gotten what you want out of them, right? They've done the work that you needed them to do so that they could help you end white supremacy, right? And also, before I go on and continue, I'm just going to put this question out there. All right. If white supremacy only affected black women, particularly brown skinned and dark skinned black women, if white supremacy exclusively only affected brown skinned and dark skinned black women, would these same people who are saying let's fight white supremacy really be so gung-ho about white supremacy? Or would they be making up excuses like, oh, brown skinned and dark skinned women need to work harder. They need to get more education. They need to stop being so lazy. Basically using the same shit that white folks use on us, right? Stop making excuses. You gotta work harder. Honestly, I don't even think some black women would care. Honestly. That's sad to say it, but I really don't even think some black women would care. All right. So, you know, so all of a sudden, are we going to start valuing brown skin and dark skinned women once white supremacy is gone? Just all of a sudden, oh, I now recognize the value and the beauty of a brown skinned, dark skinned black woman because white supremacy is no longer here. But you still got the colorism here, though. Yeah. And you didn't want to let go of colorism before you got rid of white supremacy. So why would you want to let go of it now? You feel like colorism is good for you. You feel like, it it's something that you want to indulge in. It's something that you want to perpetuate. It's something that you don't have an issue with, right? So why get rid of it, right? If anything, you would want to say, hey, let's implement this worldwide, right? Also, something to think about. The system of white supremacy took a long time to implement. It was a gradual process. It wasn't instantly, right? So even if this did play out, I really think that it's going to take a gradual process to get rid of colorism if people even really want to get rid of it. Because look at the gaslighting tactics people are using now, right? Why? If people are the way they are before they come up, before they get in power, and they grimy, they greasy, they ignoring your issues and stuff like that, why do you think they're going to all of a sudden switch up and become upstanding, morally and ethically sound people of authority? What reason do they have? Out of the goodness of their heart? If that was the case, if they had so much goodness in their heart, they would have been dealing with this colorism issue we have. They wouldn't be just knocking it off and saying, oh, this is an ugly dark-skinned woman's argument. Even when sometimes the arguments don't even involve beauty. It's like, hey, I'm being discriminated against because I'm trying to get a job and I'm been told I'm too dark. Too dark to work there by some nigga who's probably blacker than 1,000 midnights who want to say that someone's dark, right? And for you sensitive motherfuckers, all right, ain't nothing wrong with being darker than 1,000 midnights, okay? All right, ain't nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful thing, all right? But it's the point. You want to be darker than 1,000 midnights, but want to discriminate against someone based on skin tone, someone being too dark. And this is the people that's gonna come into power. Well, we know that ain't really happening, but hypothetically though, right? This is the people who are gonna come into power. And some of these people are already in a low-key position of power, a little bit, a tiny little bit, anyway, to even do some stuff like this, right? In the black community, right? And supposedly all these good folks in the community ain't checking them enough because they feeling like they can just do it and there's nothing that's going to be done about it. No one's going to check them. No one's going to hold them to task or take them to task on it. And that's true, by and large. But like I said before, if brown-skinned and dark-skinned women were not valued before, white supremacy was over, why would they be valued afterward? What reason do specifically dark-skinned black men, brown-skinned and dark-skinned black men, but also just honestly, just in general to it, really. But what reason would they have to start valuing them after they no longer need them, right? Because really, at this point, they don't need them because they're in power, so they don't even need them for like relationships and sex because they can get it since they're in power. They can implement their system and get it from, you know, any other group of women because the group of women going to want the men that are in power, usually. You know, and knowing how black men are, you know, these dark-skinned black men in particular operate, they're going to be uplifting every single woman of a different ethnicity over their own brown-skinned, dark-skinned black women. I really see that happening. And some people said that sort of was like what happened with the Moors, you know. And that's what I've heard. So honestly, I think, you know, even if that system did come into play, like it probably would end up just being undermined and thus black men being thrown out of their position of power because they ultimately aren't valuing blackness in totality. They're only valuing their blackness, you know, particularly these dark skinned, brown skinned dudes, you know. And also, are we going to do away with the toxic, you know, dark skin equals masculinity and light skin equals femininity mentality once we get rid of white supremacy? Or are we going to just, you know, continue on with that mentality? After all, it tends to benefit certain people of the community, right? And also, just a little FYI to the light skinned mixed and biracial women, right? Once this system, colorist system, becomes implemented worldwide, you know, with brown skin, dark skinned men at the helm of it, your position is going to change too. You know, they're not going to be so much satisfied with you as their consolation prize anymore, right? They're going to want, you know, the lightest and the brightest. After all, light is feminine, right? And you know you're light, but you know there's many other women who are much lighter than you. You know, there are white women, you know, with blonde hair and blue eyes, right? They would be the lightest of the light. You know? After all, this pro-black agenda, quote unquote, tends to be a pro-black men agenda, honestly. You know, as quiet as it's kept. Um, so you know, you to the light-skinned biracial mixed women out there who think y'all, you know, gonna be coming up too. Nuh-uh. It's gonna be everyone. Honestly, you gonna have to really compete now, right? You ain't used to really competing because you're usually in a game that's rigged, right? You're usually in a game that's, you know, between brown skin and dark skinned women. That's rigged when, you know, these brown skinned, dark skinned men throw the game to you. Even if you don't want it, they throw the game to you. If you don't accept it, they even get mad at you. Right? But now you're gonna have to compete against the white women, the Latinas, the Asians. You know, that's gonna be some tougher competition for you, and you ain't used to competing. You ain't used to that type of competition. That's why you, as quiet as it's kept, that's why you tend to make your way over to black spaces. So you don't have to really compete much. So you can be fat, lazy, out of shape, looking like a busted toenail, you know, just all types of bad, right? Bad body, bad breath, you know, bad face, everything. And a brown skinned, dark skinned man will uplift you like you're the best thing ever, right? And compare you to brown skinned, dark skinned women and give you the better end of the comparison because that's how brainwashed and self-hating they are. The colorist ones, of course. And again, this is about the colorist ones, of course. All right. And I know they ain't gonna give a damn about the light-skinned biracial mixed men. How has anybody ever heard a brown skin or a dark skinned man speak up and say, hey? Equating light skinned men to femininity just because of skin tone is fucked up. That ain't right. Don't do that. Has anybody ever heard a brown skinned, dark skinned man speak up about that? I haven't. They want to keep that shit going for as long as they can. Because again, a self-esteem issue, they love that shit because they have such low self-esteem, right? That they got to compare themselves. They want to have the better end of the comparison so bad, right? And the colorist ones even love to push that and even throw that up in, light-skinned, mixed, and biracial men's faces too, right? But like I said before, you're not really as masculine as you think you are. And I've done a few videos about this. Honestly, as quiet as it's kept, brown skin and dark skin tends to equate to animalisticness more than masculinity. As quiet as it's kept. That's why, not even as quiet as it's kept, but that's why, brown skin and dark skin men are still struggling for, to have their humanity recognized, honestly, as a group of people. But the thing is, like, brown skin and dark skinned men get full off of crumbs, as well as black people in general, honestly. But, especially brown skin and dark skinned black men, they get full off of crumbs. So you just give them a little bit of anything and they'll just eat it up and act like it's the best thing ever and that, it filled them up. Because, they just want compliments, They just want to be seen as the best looking nigga in the room, They make sure not to have to compete because they know they can't, That's why they tend to be the garbage man when it comes to, interracial dating and even in the community. Garbage man, dumpster divers, dumpster diving for dates behind the Chinese restaurant, behind the Mexican restaurant, right? Bottom feeders, right? Just looking at the bottom, going down the bottom of the ocean, looking for a date, Any crustacean looking motherfucker woman will do. As long as she ain't a brown skinned, dark skinned black woman. So at this point, it's like white supremacy or colorism. Pick your poison. For me personally, better the devil you know. Honestly, I feel like, as fucked up as it sounds, I feel like, I think you just probably should stick with the devil you know. I think, for me personally, And honestly, I think, when it comes to the mixed biracial light-skinned men and women, I feel like the women tend to gravitate towards colorism because it tends to be an easier win for them, like I mentioned, right? They don't really have to do much but just show up and be light-skinned, right? But if they were to go to white supremacy in that world, then they would actually have to compete against white women, and they know that they can't do that, right? And win hand over fist, right? However, on the other hand, for the men, biracial mixed men, I think white supremacy probably could be a better option, as fucked up as that sounds, because you tend to be judged more so on what you do versus how you look. Like, how you look for men in the black community, it's like a beauty contest, right? Based on melanin, based on the amount of melanin you have, right? Like, that alone, nothing else. It's just the amount of melanin you have that makes you really more masculine, which is not really a good indicator of masculinity when it comes to really having expecting folks to do things that are really masculine, right? But hey, I guess it seems to work for black women. So, hey, if you like it, I love it. You know, if setting the bar so low works for you, who am I to complain? Who am I to judge? You know, but it's just it makes me ask a few questions though. Like, is the pro-black, the pro-black agenda really for me, specifically me? Is it really down for me? Yeah. Would I just be trading one system for another system, like one bad system for another bad system? You know, it's something to really think about, right? And, you know, don't let them shame you for being selfish when it comes to, what's in it for you, right? Specifically you, right? Specifically you and you know, your identity, right? Your phenotype, right? Because best believe, please be prepared for the shaming and guilting tactics, all right? Because that's gonna come. But I've gone on for long enough. My bad. I didn't mean to go on for this long. But I just wanted to put that out there and just see what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. I'll catch you in the next video. Adios and goodbye for now.